So, I apologize, guys, for the background noise. They're working on our roof, so they're banging with nails and, you know, hammers, so they're going crazy up there. A little bit less than what we've been doing this season. But 5 Bengals offseason decisions in 2023 that already look like a disaster. Now, I'm going to go ahead and change the title here, because this title is 5 offseason decisions that people are already overreacting to, because it's week 3, okay? Calm down, relax. You know, not every single thing we did this offseason is going to work in the first 2 weeks. Not everything that we did this offseason is going to click and perfectly look like they've been together for 15 years after 2 weeks. So, let's get into this article. Starting off right away. Rolling with Irv Smith and not drafting a tight end. See, this is the first one I want to talk about. Good. Number 5. And I made a video recently about Irv Smith and how, you know, it was definitely annoying that we knew going into the season he would have injury concerns because he was injury prone. And yet we still went after him instead of drafting a tight end. And I will agree that hindsight being 2020 here, yeah, we definitely probably should have drafted a tight end. But when you really look at the tight end group right now, right? Michael Mayer's on the Raiders. He hasn't done anything this season. Kincaid is the best option, but we couldn't have gotten him anyway. Sam Laporta, he looks like a good option, but again, like I said, you never know how he would have worked in our offense anyway. And we took a guy with the highest upside in Myles Murphy. Was it a bad pick? We won't know, because it's been 2 weeks, okay? We're not going to know how a rookie is going to turn out this season in the first 2 weeks of the season. That's just simply that. Now, when it comes to Irv Smith, I will say this, right? Well, yes, he hasn't done anything too crazy this season. Week 1, it was a rainstorm, right? And it was just an absolute mess. Our offense couldn't get clicking. So you gotta kind of have to throw that game out of there. So now you only got Baltimore game to look at. And even in Baltimore game, even back in the game for the Browns game, even if you look at that game, Irv Smith has been used as a blocking tight end in both of these games, nonstop. He hasn't really been a receiving tight end at all. And it's kind of ironic because that's actually what he's good at receiving, not blocking. But we've had to utilize him as a blocker because, you know, we haven't got no offense going in these first 2 games. So it's not really a problem with him or anyone really when it comes to the tight end side. It's really the offense in general. So you can't really say, oh, well, going with Irv Smith and not drafting a tight end, because a rookie tight end would be in the same exact spot he's in right now with us if we had a rookie tight end, right? You can make the argument that now that this week, you know, Irv Smith's not playing because he's injured, you can make an argument, well, that definitely looks bad, right? Because if Irv Smith, you know, we would have drafted a tight end, he probably would have been in the game. Okay, you can make that argument, but you can't make the argument that he could have been any better than Irv Smith throughout the season, right? So I don't agree with this. I really don't, because I think at the end of the day, us not drafting a tight end was a bad decision, but it's not because of Irv Smith, right? Going with a rookie tight end over Irv Smith wouldn't have changed much as of right now. Maybe later in the season, you know, way later in the season, you sit here and say, okay, well, this is a problem. But right now, I mean, you got Irv Smith. Honestly, I would say our choice to bring back Mitchell Wilcox and not go with Tanner Hudson. That could have been a mistake. You could even make that argument that Tanner Hudson is a better player than Mitchell Wilcox or Drew Sample. And we should have went with those guys instead of going with, you know, or Tanner Hudson instead of those guys. Again, like I said, so it's, I don't really think the idea of drafting a tight end would have fixed anything, because what this is spelling is that if we had, you know, a tight end in there that we drafted and not, you know, what's his name? Irv Smith. I don't know why I forgot his name for a second. If we didn't have Irv Smith in there, then bam, we would automatically be a lot more efficient offense. That's not true. And obviously, losing Hayden Hurst sucked. But last season, Hayden Hurst was hurt for half the year. And when he did play, he only put up 400 yards. So, I don't agree that this is, like, again, a disaster. I think, if anything, our disaster you could have made is that why didn't we keep Tanner Hudson on as our tight end? I think that really shows what we should have done. Not upgrading at left guard. Get the F out of here. Get the F out of here. No. Volson has been fine. Volson has been fine this season so far. I did an hour-long video last week, or not last week, but a couple days ago, breaking down every single play of the Ravens game. Every single play for an hour long. And I looked at every single play from an offensive line standpoint. Volson did not mess up one single time. And listen, Orlando Brown messed up a couple of times. You know, Jonah didn't look great. There was some mess-ups from Kappa. There was some mess-ups from Teddy K. Volson's the only one out of all those guys that simply did not mess up at all in that game. He's the only guy. So get the F out of here when you're telling me that upgrading at left guard was a problem. Our left guard was fine. Volson is absolutely fine. If anything, our offensive line in general is fine. So, come on now. You gotta try harder than that. We played probably the best defensive line in football in Cleveland's defensive line. Then we played a really great defensive line in the AFC North for Baltimore. Don't even come at me with that bull crap, okay? No. Stop it. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Number 3, letting both safeties walk in free agency. Okay, this is again why I said this is an overreaction. It's been 2 weeks. What do you expect? Nick Scott, Jordan Battle, who's a rookie, Dax Hill, who's finally starting for the first time in his career, to go out there and look like Ed Reed and Brian Dawkins in their prime? What do you expect? We haven't given up that many crazy stats. Dax Hill had a pick last week. Oh, sorry, not last week. Week 1. He had an interception week 1. Like, we played great defense week 1 for the most part. I know the coverage grade on PFF is not the greatest. I don't give a crap what the coverage grade is. At the end of the day, for a guy who is in his first 2 NFL starts in his career, is going out there and not giving up touchdowns and getting an interception, I'm sorry, but that looks pretty dang good to me. Yeah, I agree. If we had Jesse Bates and Von Bell, it would have been nice to have those guys in there. But then you got to look at the fact that we wouldn't have kept other players. We wouldn't have gotten Orlando Brown. Right now, we'd have Jonah Williams at left tackle and Jackson Carman at right tackle. Do you want that over having Jesse Bates and Von Bell? Like, there's stipulations. You give some, you get some. We wouldn't have had any of our free agent signings this offseason if we would have kept Jesse Bates. We couldn't even keep Von Bell if we kept Jesse Bates. When you say letting them both walk in free agency, that's such a outrageous statement, because what you're alluding to is that we purposely let them walk. When you look at the contract Jesse Bates got, you think we could afford that? With Joe Burrow's contract coming up, T. Higgins up, Chase up, you think we're gonna have enough money to keep Jesse Bates when Jermaine Pratt needed a contract, Logan Wilson needed a contract, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow? We couldn't have paid him probably half of what he wanted. We didn't let him walk. He got away because we gave him a good, we couldn't offer as much. Von Bell, we offered very close to what Carolina offered, and Carolina offered a tad bit more than us. And he left. Samaje Perine, we tried to offer him. We offered him exact same money Denver offered him, but Sean Payton promised him that he runs a 2-back system and he'll get more carries. Come on now. Come on now. Not investing in a reliable backup quarterback. I mean, I don't know what you would go in there with. I mean, you're not going to spend big money for a backup quarterback, right? Nobody in the right mind expected Joe to have a calf strain, okay? That's obviously unpredictable. You had a quarterback. I mean, they got Trevor Siemian. That's really the best option available at the time. And the only reason they got Trevor Siemian was because Brian Callahan played with him in Denver, and Brian Callahan thought he was the guy. He thought he could be a capable backup. We let Brandon Allen walk, which I don't think was a big deal. I think he was honestly not that crazy good. And we also thought, you know what, Jake Browning, who's been on this roster for the last couple of years, listen, maybe he can be in here and do something for us. I mean, you saying this acting like there was 17 different options available that was costing nothing and literally just absolutely beautiful options, and we said no to every single one. We didn't. In the draft, there wasn't that many great quarterbacks later on in the draft. Would you rather have taken Stetson Bennett when in the 4th round? Would you rather have Chuck Sizzle or Stetson Bennett? And Stetson Bennett might not even be good in the NFL. Like, stop it. Stop it. They did the best they could do. And number 1, the overreaction of it all. Listen, again, like I said, I'm not going to sit here and defend Myles Murphy and say Myles Murphy is the best player of all time. I'm not going to sit here and in any way say that he looks like, you know, what's his name, LT in his prime. He doesn't, okay? He really doesn't. But to sit here and say, well, drafting Myles Murphy was an awful decision and, you know, that was definitely the thing that didn't work out. He's a rookie. Give him time. See what he can do. If every single rookie had 2 weeks before they were, oh, you're done, you're off, you're not good enough, then nobody would be successful in the NFL. We would never have successful players in the NFL. Like, it's a new system he's in. He's under a really good defense coordinator, Lou Dini, and he's not being utilized as much. He played 22% of the defense snaps, 18 special teams. So what do you expect? In every single snap he gets to be out there and look like a top 5 player every single week? There's a reason why he wasn't a top 5 pick, right? I know there was a chance he could have been a top 5 pick, but again, there's the big word there. There was a chance. He has a lot of potential and a lot of, you know, intangibles that we like in him that, yeah, he might have to take some time to develop. And that's okay. We don't need him to go out there and play very well every single play. If we had Joseph Asai the last 2 weeks, honestly, I think he would look a lot better. Because he would be more of a good rotational piece. Calm down, guys. We'll be fine. These are 5 overreactions already.